Hello everyone and welcome to Cinderful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the Grey. Today we have a getting started video for you, and today we're going to be looking at the Beasts of Chaos faction, and in particular, the Warherd section of the Beasts of Chaos army. Warherd is not particularly a type of sub-faction within the army, rather it's a type of unit within the army. Beasts of Chaos is made up of many different types of models within the army, whether that be Brayherd units, Warherd units, or Thunderscorn units, or even the Monsters of Chaos. What we're looking to do in this particular video is focus on the Warherd faction, which is the Minotaur or Bulgur faction within the actual Allegiance Beasts of Chaos. And we're going to look at how we can start a force built around the Warherd. So let's start talking about Warherd in general. They are of course a Beasts of Chaos army, so what we're going to get from this is we're going to get all the different rules that we would normally get. So we're going to get the Herdstone rules, we're going to get access to the Great Phrase, we're going to have the primordial cool summoning abilities as well. In addition, we're going to get access to the particular Warherd abilities. First of all, Blood Gorge, where at the end of the combat phase, if any attacks made by a Warherd unit in that combat phase destroyed any enemy units, you can heal D3 units to that Warherd unit that destroyed things. And in addition, we've got some new rules that come from Broken Realms Kragnos, which is Warherd Charge. So after a friendly Warherd unit makes a charge, you pick one enemy unit within an inch of them and add 2 to the roll if the unit is a hero with more than 3 wounds on them. On a 4+, the enemy unit suffers D3 mortal. So we do some little bit more impact hits, nice, some more mortal wounds. As you can see, the army is very combat focused. It wants to get in, it wants to fight, it wants to get killing things. In addition, it's going to be very elite. As you would imagine, taking Minotaurs, they are, like 4 wound models. You're going to have that sort of elite feel to your army. You're not going to have many models if you're focusing primarily on Warherd. With that said though, let's get looking at how we can start off a Warherd force and get building up our little Beasts of Chaos army. So, the obvious place to get started with a Beasts of Chaos army focusing on Warherd is with the only Warherd hero within the Allegiance, and that is the Doomball. Doomballs are a pretty solid character piece. They've got 8 wounds, move of 7, which is nice, and a 4-up save base with bravery 7. So, pretty decent bravery for Beasts of Chaos all in all. They've got some decent attacks. Their Slaughterer's Axe, 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, Ren 2, damage 3, and they've got some additional damage available from the Horns. But where, I guess, the Bulgurs and indeed the Doomball as well, where each unmodified wound roll of a 6 for attacks made with this unit inflicts a mortal wound in addition to any normal damage. So that comes off all their different attack profile, whether that be the Horns or the Slaughterer's Axe, and this goes across the board for all Bulgur style units. Slaughterer's Call is the command ability we get, and this gives +1 to wound rolls for a friendly Warherd unit around him. So he's a nice little buff piece for our Warherd. He also can do a little bit of damage himself, and he does some mortal wounds as well. So mortal wounds is something we get a lot of because of all these attacks, and believe me, they can really start spiking up. Speaking of our battle line though, when you take that Doomball as your general, you do get access to Bulgurs as battle line. Bulgurs have a variety of different ways they can play. They've got different loadout weapons they can have. So for starters, they all get their Bulgur Horn attacks, which is cool. And you can choose to either have a Bulgur Axe or 2. And if you only have 1, you can also get the shield, or you can have the Bulgur Great Axe. So Bulgur Axes have 3 attacks, 4s to hit, 3s to wound, Ren 1, damage 2. And the Great Axe only has 2 attacks though. It's still 4 and 3 on its hit and wound, but Ren 2, damage 3. So a lot more heavy damage here. And Ren 2 on your baseline troops is pretty cool. Dual Axes, like most things in Warhammer Age of Sigmar, give you reroll hit rolls of 1, and you can add 1 to your save rolls if you've decided to take the shields. This will put you up to a 4-up save with 4 wounds each. You've also got the 7 move and 6 bravery here, which is pretty nice. You've got the Blood Greed rule as well, where you do the mortal wounds on any wound rolls, and you've also got access to your drummers and musicians, your drummers and your standard bearers. So your drummers can add 1 to your charge rolls, which is nice, especially when coming in from ambush, which we'll talk about in a second when we get to the army list. And you also can add some bravery here as well, which is really cool. So all in all, you've got a great little starting point here, a couple of boxes of Bulgurs and a Doomball, and you've got a great little starting force to get your Warherd army on the go. But where do we go from here? Well, definitely more Bulgurs is the way to go. If you're going to be taking this up to like a 2,000 point army, you're at least going to want 3 units of them, so 3 boxes is probably a requirement. But it's also cool to have different units of Bulgors for different purposes. I do think like the Great Axes and their Rend can come in handy, but also sometimes you're just going to want the more attacks that are going to try and proc more mortal wounds, so dual axes may be the way to go, and sometimes you're going to want a unit that can stay a little bit more, and 4 wounds on a 4-up save is pretty survivable. It will hold its own for quite a little bit, so I do think it's worth having all these different units in there. I think the big Great Axes, they work great in the larger units. This is because you're just going to have those more attacks in there, and they're going to be able to get more models in to get more attacks with, while your dual hand axes can do really nicely on smaller units where they're not going to have as many attacks, but you're going to be trying to get some mortal wounds out there with your rerolls and stuff like that. You can also have a great little speed bump unit with those 4-up save and like 3 model units as well, which is nice. But the monsters we get for this faction. So we get both the Cygor and the Gorgon. For starters, the Cygor, he is not particularly great. He has a cool little ability where he can try and lob a rock and kill a wizard. And he gets a whole bunch of bonuses trying to fight wizards. But other than that, he really doesn't do an awful lot if your opponent's not taking a wizard and he's not hunting that particular wizard. The Gorgon, on the other hand, has some cool abilities. So he's 14 wounds, 5-up save, and his move goes from 8 to 3 depending on how damaged he is. So damaging your movement is really hurts. But he's got his Butchering Blades where he's got 5 attacks at his full profile. Only Rend 1 but damage 3. And his Huge Slavering Maw is damage D6, which is nice. He's got the Ravenous Bloodgreed, so every time he rolls a wound roll though, on a 6, it does D3 mortal wounds in addition, so that's pretty cool. He's got a high amount of attacks there, which is nice. And then he's also got Swallow Whole as another ability where each time this model attacks, you can pick an enemy model within an inch of him, and after all the model's attacks have been made and resolved, you roll a dice. If it's equal to or greater than that model's wound characteristic, it's slain. You just eat a model. So he's got some cool different little abilities, and he can put in a decent amount of work, especially for his points cost. Lastly, I think something interesting to take alongside your Bulgors is definitely looking at some chaff to keep your Bulgors out of the fights you don't want them to get in and protect you from alpha structure opponents' armies. Ungor Raiders are fantastic for this. A pre-game move allows them to move up, control the border, and just spread out, allowing your Bulgors and your Warherd army in general to move forward unimpeded and just get to where it needs to be in order to attack and do the damage where you want it to and play the game on your terms. So with this said though, let's look at how we can put this all into practice in a little army together and see what we can do. And so here we have a little sample army list we put together for 1,000 points for the Warherd. For starters, we're going to be playing in the Darkwalkers sub-faction, and I talked a little bit about Ambush, and you might be wondering why I was talking about that with Warherd. So there's a particular sub-faction of the Beasts of Chaos called the Darkwalkers that allow us to deep strike or ambush our units of Thunderscorn and Warherd as if they were Brayherd units. So this is pretty cool. It allows us to take some units off the table and really go and smash some stuff. Remembering we have those drummers in there, they're going to get us +1 to charge, so it means we're going to be an 8-inch charge if we come in from ambush, which is pretty nice. So Doomball, he's going to be our general, and his artifact and command trait are going to be set because we're playing in a sub-faction. So Nomadic Leader, you add 1 to friendly run rolls around him, which is pretty nice. And then Desolate Shard is pretty situational and a little bit of mortal wounds, so it doesn't really do a lot. But with some really cool things, like Nomadic Leader is nice, extra run, this is going to allow those first turns after your Ungor Raiders have moved up, which we've got 2 units of 10 in the army, so you can move them up with their pre-game moves and then run and get that little bit of extra run there, hopefully not having to spend any command points to get units up the board. Battle line wise, we've gone for 1 unit of 6 Bulgor to be our main hammer and 2 units of 3. Now, I was talking before about how you can do different loadouts for different weapons. 6 Bulgor, probably with great axes for me. 3 Bulgor, one of them with shields to sort of be holding objectives, and the other one with some axes. Or you could go both with shields, depending how you want to play. You're probably good going with both of those secondary units with shields, or just to be some good objective holders for you. Because you've got a Gorgon in there as well, which can be another offensive unit. So you can use him and the 6 Bulgor as your main offensive units, along with the Doomball, and then have the Bulgor sitting on the back and your Ungor Raiders providing screening and harassing. Remembering, Ungor Raiders do have a little bit of shooting in there as well, so they're useful for just popping in a couple of extra shots, wounds and damage here and there to help your Bulgors out. Especially good at removing like those last 1 or 2 wounds potentially that your Bulgors might be stuck in getting in combat with. So there's that sort of play you can do with the Ungor Raiders in there as well. But if you're playing Beasts of Chaos, and in particular Warherd, I'd love to know your thoughts on them. What are you playing? What are you running? How are you going with them? I've been loving using the Minotaurs in my Beast of Chaos army. They're a ton of fun, or Bulgors, whatever you want to call them. So I'd love to hear other people's thoughts on the faction. Thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our fine community here at Sinful Gaming, you can do so by following the link in the description of the video to our Discord server, where we're always chatting Warhammer there. Also, while you're on YouTube as well, why not go check out my featured channel section on the channel, where you'll find a bunch of other fantastic Warhammer Age of Sigmar content creators doing everything from lore videos, battle reports, tactical videos, painting tutorials, and more besides as well. Lastly, we'd like to give a shout out to anyone who helps support the channel on Patreon or YouTube members. Thank you to Christian Weir, James Soren, Chaos Spawn, AJC, Kenny Lyle, Outer Shot First, James Crowder, Andrew Bowen, Nathan Fee, Tim Newman, The Rising Ape, Cure Dynamic, Agu, Anthony B, and MJ. Thank you to you all, our Patreon supporters, and thank you to our YouTube members as well, Green Roots Gaming, Fire Titan, Steve T, The Real Zeop, and Chris Wallace. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can go and help support the channel by joining either Patreon or YouTube members, which you'll find the links to in the description of the video, or going and purchasing some of our merchandise from Teespring, which you'll also find linked in the description of the video. Thank you all once again. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Once again, stay safe everyone, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.